The mainstream media's coverage of global warming has been a topic of controversy in recent years, with some arguing that it has been used as a tool to oppress Christians. While this claim may seem far-fetched, a closer examination of the media's narrative reveals a more complex and nuanced issue. On one hand, the media's emphasis on the urgent need for climate action has led to a significant increase in awareness and concern about the issue. However, this increased attention has also led to a growing trend of vilifying and marginalizing those who do not subscribe to the dominant climate change narrative, particularly Christians. Many Christians have expressed concerns that the climate change agenda is being used to push a secular and liberal worldview that is inherently at odds with their faith. They argue that the media's focus on climate change has led to a culture of fear and intimidation, where those who question the scientific consensus or express skepticism about the severity of the issue are labeled as deniers and science haters. This has created a chilling effect, where Christians feel hesitant to express their opinions or engage in public debate about climate change, fearing ridicule, ostracism, or even persecution. Furthermore, the media's coverage of climate change has often been infused with a sense of moral urgency and crusading zeal, which can be alienating and hostile to Christians. The language used to describe climate change is often apocalyptic and catastrophist, with terms like existential threat and climate emergency being bandied about with reckless abandon. This kind of language can be intimidating and off-putting to Christians, who may feel that their faith and values are being dismissed or marginalized in the process. In addition, the media's focus on climate change has led to a growing trend of environmentalism being used as a proxy for spirituality. Many environmental activists and climate change advocates have begun to use language and imagery that is overtly spiritual and even quasi-religious, with terms like Mother Earth and Gaia being used to describe the natural world. This has led to a blurring of the lines between science and spirituality, with some environmentalists explicitly arguing that climate change is a moral and spiritual issue that requires a kind of secular pilgrimage or penance. For Christians, this kind of language and imagery can be deeply problematic, as it implies that the natural world is a kind of quasi-divine entity that demands worship and reverence. This can be seen as a form of idolatry, where the creation is being elevated to the status of the creator, and the distinction between the two is being deliberately blurred. Moreover, the media's emphasis on the need for collective guilt and repentance over climate change can be seen as a kind of secular confession, where individuals are encouraged to acknowledge their sins and seek forgiveness for their carbon footprint. In conclusion, while the mainstream media's coverage of global warming has raised awareness and concern about the issue, it has also been used to oppress and marginalize Christians. The language and narrative used to describe climate change have often been infused with a sense of moral urgency and crusading zeal, which can be alienating and hostile to Christians. The growing trend of environmentalism being used as a proxy for spirituality has also led to blurring of the lines between science and spirituality, which can be deeply problematic for Christians. As the debate over climate change continues, it is essential to recognize the complexity and nuance of the issue, and to create a space for respectful and open dialogue, where Christians and non-Christians can engage with each other's perspectives and values.